digest. From lane to the new shining ground, echo chants where the legends are found. Heroes carved in the heart of time, we march on through grit and grime. Oh Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire. Oh Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire. Echoes of King and Greaves in the air. Every goal, the sound declares. Heartbeats pound like a drummer's song, marching forward, fierce and strong. We're the ones who rise in the clash. Numbers running in a white shirt dash. History burns in the roaring crowd. Every game we scream it loud. I'm Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire. We're the ones who rise in the clash. Numbers running in a white shirt dash. History burns in the roaring crowd. Every game we scream it loud. I'm Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire.
Big up, guys, and welcome to THFC Till I Die, home of Tottenham past, present, and a nightmare under Thomas Frank after last night's performance. I'm telling you, it was like watching Nightmare on Elm Street, Nightmare in Monaco. That was the rise and fall of it. Joining me, of course, now, once his, let me get this right, once his PC is up and running. You're right over there, sir. Did you get your PC going?
Yeah, I need to run something on it. It's getting slower and slower to start up every day, lad.
Do you have to wind it up like they do in the 20s, like wind it up like I do, like wind it, give it a bit of energy?
I'm not far off it, Dermo.
Dave, look, I don't know where to start from last night. I know I put in the group chat I'm in with you that I was visibly sick and visibly angry last night of what I was seeing. And I watched a bit at the end of your show, in between the end of the watch along and the start of my match reaction show. And I was watching you and Jack. And you said something very that resonated with me very much, that you didn't want to hear anyone saying, oh, it's just one of them games with battling performance and that. And can I say you were spot on with that assessment? Because if you look at games gone by, you can say that in some games. But last night, there was no desire, Dave, no fight. And I think that's what angered me the most, was there was no desire of fight in that shirt. You and me, I'm nearly 50. You're in the prime of your life, right? We will bust a gut for that lily white shirt with the cockerel. Last night was none of that, was there? So it's worrying.
I think it could come across as looking like a lack of fight, but I honestly think it was the tactics we employed yesterday. I think Thomas Frank went out there and set up for a draw. I believe he thinks it's a good result. Yeah, if he was managing Brentford, it would be, but he's managing Tottenham Hotspur. And for me, I think, it's for instance, we go, there's no fight, but the way he's asking them to set up out of possession, he's asking them to set up in a mid block. But all you see now is teams, they're just passing it across the back line, into midfield, out wide, and they're in. And that's all that's happening. Like,
Yeah.
Richarlison is sitting as deep as Bergvall. So even if we do get a hold of the ball and look to clear it, we have no out ball, which means they're taking it and coming straight back at us yet again. Out of possession, there is no plan. Like, I'm okay with a mid-block, but surely the idea of a mid-block is the guy that's closest to the ball goes and puts pressure on it, and then if he moves that on, he drops back in, the next guy closest to the ball goes out and puts pressure. But we're not seeing that. And for me, that's a tactical instruction, Dermo, which makes it look like there's no fight, because we could sit here and go, Richarlison didn't run yesterday. But under Ange Postecoglou, he ran the legs off himself pressing. So for me, that comes down to tactical instruction and the way we set up.
Look, I get it. I think Thomas Frank is not immune from criticism. I think he deserves criticism last night. But Dave, some of them players we will get into it. We're going to talk a little bit as well, Dave, about the Premier League and the whole. Jeremy O'Hara has come out and said it's the worst Premier League season he's seen, and that the way the Premier League is actually suiting Arsenal to win the league. So I'd love your thoughts on that. And also, we might tip in a little bit into. We don't have to talk about Ireland today, so you're all right. You're safe from that. You're safe from that conversation. Thank God. We might tip in also to. I was watching Real Tottenham TV last night, and Himothy was on saying that Daniel Levy was pushed out. So I want to talk a little bit on that and get your views on it. Do you think he was pushed out? And I don't trust Enoch, and I don't want to know where your stance on that, Dave. We've got a lot to get through. So, guys, let's please get over to Dave and Jack's channel. Hit the subscription on there for them lads. Get them up there and do it the same as us. Look, I only joke saying I want to be the #1 Spurs channel. We all know Dave's king of the hill here in Ireland, but I want to be #2 behind him. So him and me make a united front that we dominate the Irish Tottenham fan base in this country. So do hit a subscribe and like into. Let's see who is in. Big up to Spurs T-Rex. I love that name. I really do. With the old Tottenham shirt there from the back in the day. It becomes new YouTuber. Thank you so much, sir. Big up to Rhino. Rhino, we might get you on a podcast with me and Dave. That should be interesting. I did enjoy being on the fan show with you the other night. Nearly fell off my chair a few times. I think Dave was shocked. I've never seen you as shocked, Dave, to be fair. Do you want to say anything to Rhino? But he is a good lad, and he's a good lad.
No, I like Rhino. He's a good soul.
Yeah, he is. He's got a big heart. He really does. Big up to Joe Blogs, Evening and Dave. Big up to you, Joe. Big up to Matt Chapman as well. Big up to you, Matt. Great to see you back. He says, big up both. Big up to you, Matt. Big up to the legend that is Wayne Bonner. He says, good afternoon, Dermot and Dave. All in the chat. Hope you're all well. I have to get my inner Good Morning Vietnam voice for that. I have to do, which is a Robbie Williams film. Brilliant film. I have to watch it again soon. Big up, Joe. That game was terrible to watch. I didn't see you watch long, Dave. Did you still want for a fag anytime during it? Anytime that you did once?
Look, it was a tough watch, wasn't it, yesterday? I mean, let's be brutally honest with you. It was a tough watch.
Yeah.
Look, I think Frank got his team selection wrong from the start. I think not playing Simons. And look, don't get me wrong, Simons didn't cover himself in glory when he came off the bench last night. But, we've got a massive problem with creativity. And one of the guys that we brought in for 60-odd million to solve that problem, he doesn't quite know what to do with him. And I question, did he actually want him in the first place? Is this a player that Frank really wanted? Because when you look at it, he's played him off the left, played him through the middle. I don't think he really knows where to use him. If Frank really wanted him, he would have dropped him straight into his system and kept him there regardless. And the fact that he's in and out of the lineup as well suggests to me how much did Frank really want this guy and how much does he know what to do with him. Also, the other big one is not playing Papa Matsar from the off. I'm getting absolutely fed up with it. You know what Thomas Frank needs to realize? Okay, we're not a great creative team. But then we'll go back to what worked. What worked was when Papa Matsar was in that number 10. Okay, he's not your traditional number 10, but he pressed higher up the pitch. We turned ball over higher up the pitch. Since he's come out of the team, we keep dropping deeper, deeper, and deeper, and deeper. And what he done effectively by turning ball higher up the pitch, when he turned it over, then it meant we had one pass and we were in, rather than trying to beat 3, 4, 5, 6 players all the time with how low we're setting up and stuff like that. And also, Papa Matsar, up until about the first 5, 6 games of the season, including preseason, was involved in nearly every goal that Tottenham Hotspur scored. So why has Frank taken him out of the team? I do not understand. I understand that maybe he wanted to try and give Simons a run in there, and maybe he took him out to accommodate Simons. But he's not even accommodating Simons anymore. So why not put Papa Matasar back in there? For me, I think he's got that. I think he's got the team selection wrong from the off. I think, and it's not the first time I've accused this of Thomas Frank, and it's not the first time I flagged that, and it's come back to bite us, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I also think the way we went out there and set up yesterday was atrocious. Out of possession, we were very passive, just sit in, low block, this, that, and the other. And Monaco had their way with us. If it wasn't for Vicario, a player that everybody wanted to sell, by the way,
I know,
we wouldn't have came out with a result last night. And then on another night, we could have very easily been humiliated. And then in possession, there's no identity. It doesn't look like there's any game plan. These are all things that fans were excited about with Thomas Frank coming in, but he hasn't shown any of it. Changing up formations to suit the opposition, haven't seen any of that. Changing things up mid-game is something that we were told he would bring. Haven't seen that. I have so many questions about what I'm seeing. However, I will caveat, there are little things that Frank could be doing to help himself out a bit more. However, I can tell fans now, even those who are really after Frank right now, you can bring in another manager and the same shit is going to keep happening. There has to be a start realization. This is post-Kane and Son era now. Yeah. And this is how bleak it looks. There is nothing any manager can do when you don't have a guy that can win you games or create as consistently as them two were. And this is the start reality of now. So it doesn't matter what manager you bring in, the same shit will keep happening when you don't have people that can win you games of football or put the ball in the back net. Prime example, even though we were shite last night, Johnson had an opportunity right at the end.
I don't get
this is what fans praise Johnson for. As soon as he comes on, Johnson again, ole, ole, tapping Johnson, here we come. He hit a guy's backside when he had his back turned to the ball.
I know.
And that's the massive difference of quality that we're dealing with in the front line. That is coming back to bite us and why we cannot win games consistently.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll get to Ryan's super chat first. Big up, Ryan. Though, thank you so much. Really, really, really generous of you, man. I know times are tough out there for everyone, but if you can be a bit like Rhino, send in the super chat, pick up your memberships. Only 99¢, the cheapest memberships on YouTube. It really would help us grow. But big up, Rhino. Thank you so much. It says, Davo, I would take a 0-0. I would take a 0-0 at the beginning. And you and me are going to agree in this, Dave. That's not for debate now. If it was a very good performance, I think I might sway in that, but it wasn't. But at the beginning, but we're 1 point better off. I'm happy as long as we don't lose. I don't care about boring football, but what I do care about is we're not losing games. Much love.
This is a false narrative, though, Dermo. It's false. We're praising a point away to Monaco, who were bang average and already had a managerial change, by the way. A Belgian team slapped them up 4-1 on the opening day of the Champions League. People were praising a draw away to Bodo Glimt. And by the way, a team that we beat 2-0 under a manager and with a squad that no one rated, by the way. People praised the draw to Wolves. Look at the resilience we're showing. And people are going, but we're not losing. Anytime we've come up against a team that are mildly better than us, we've lost. Bournemouth, we've lost. Aston Villa, we've lost. So, I mean, it's a false narrative that is being painted here. And I'm sick of it. Fans last year that were saying, where's our standards, this, that, and the other, are the same guys that are making excuses for piss poor performances and drop points against shit teams. I'm not having it. At the end of the day, at Tottenham Hotspur, there's a certain standard that needs to be met. And right now, Thomas Frank and some of these players are starting to fall below that. And I'm not surprised because I said, when the fixture list came out and combined with the Champions League fixture list, all of our easy games were at the start. Now we're coming into a period, we've got much tougher games coming up. And so far, with the first two games, we've struggled. We can sit here and say last night was a great point. Let's see how great that point is when we play PSG, Dortmund and Frankfurt and potentially don't get outside in the top 8, even though the fixture list allowed us to finish inside the top 8, regardless of the 3 fixtures we had at the end. And for me, I just see things going tits up.
Yeah, I do. I looked at the fixtures, Dave, and I always said the start of it, we needed to pick up points at the start. Monaco away, Copenhagen at home, Villarreal at home. There were games where we could have picked on points and get ourselves stabilized in the top 8. PSG away, if we get a point from that, I'd be happy, if I'm being honest. I don't think we will, but...
Yeah, but a point away to PSG is good. A point away to Bodo isn't.
No, and the point away to Monaco is not Monaco, right? And look, Dave, I think we also got to give much credit how good Monaco were last night. They absolutely dominated us. They wanted it more. And I've got a point here. Matt Cooper's putting there. They had 7 first-team players out injured. Do you know? And I think Monaco deserve all the credit last night. I really, really do, because I think they outfought us, they outthinked us. The new manager out-tacticked Thomas Frank, and Thomas Frank should get all the criticism, and he has to own it. I agree with you 100%. Last night's performance was nowhere near good enough. But big up to you. Big up to
what
you,
we've got right now, Darmo, actually, what I see sort of largely in amongst the fan base, and I see it broadly across socials, across many YouTube chats and stuff like that, is everyone hated Ange Postecoglou that much, and everyone wanted change that much. They were starting to blame him for absolutely everything going on at the football club, and painted Thomas Frank as the Messiah, the guy that was going to come in, develop players, which he's proven he can't do, because people like Ryan are still screaming for a striker and a left winger. But if he was coming in to develop players, like we were told, he would turn Johnson into a better player. He'd make Udeber a better player. He'd turn Tell into a better player. So that hasn't happened. You know, he was painted as a guy that's going to change up during games. Haven't seen that. Painted as a guy that was going to change up from game to game. Haven't seen that. In fact, what you're seeing is a guy wedded to his philosophy, just like Ange, just like Jose, just like Conte. But because people hated Ange so much, they're willing to defend some of the stuff that we're seeing early signs of warning signs to where it is sort of this could go tits up very quickly if things aren't rectified, are defending it, even though they were the same people criticizing it last year. I don't understand it. Look, I'm one of them. I've always been consistent. No matter who the manager, it is not the manager's fault when they don't have a starting 11 from 1 to 11 that they can rely on. As long as they have to keep picking an 11 where they have to gamble with 2 or 3 team selections every single game, they are set up for failure at this football club. So I'm going to be consistent, and I don't think everything is Thomas Frank's fault. Could he help himself out more with team selections and stuff like that? Yes, but not everything is his fault, and that's where I will be consistent.
Do you know, I said it. I've been saying it now. I did a short the other day, came out of a stream I did, Dave, and I've said where I think the club have really let down the young players, the likes of Mikey Moore, Will Lancashire, Alfie Devine, Ashley Phillips, that came under the Paratici first reign of Youth Academy. Them players should be in and around the first team now as squad players and start bringing them in. I think they're sending them out on loan. We have failed the young players. Secondly, I said it yesterday on your show, and I'm going to stick to this. I'm going to bang this drum. Daniel Levy has his transfer policy is now coming to bite us on the arse because of going to buy young all the time, going down the youth thing. It doesn't work. You buy Archie Gray, you buy Brennan Johnson. Brennan Johnson for me is a flush. I backed him for 2 years. But what I saw, Dave, at the start of this season, with it, even at the parade, I can understand the players celebrating. But even at the end of last season, he didn't go away in pre-season to try to improve himself. He hasn't. He's there in the documentary James Maddison, which I think is a great documentary, by the way, to give an insight to show what players do go through when they're injured. I'm big up to James Maddison for that. You look at Cutie comes over to him, shakes him. Bentancur comes over to him, shakes him, right, back to work. Do you know, you look at all the players back to work. Brennan Johnson sitting there going, hi, I'm Brennan Johnson, in the window, and James Manson's getting his knee done. If I was Archie Gray, right, and we know how the Gray dynasty at Leeds is a very, very big dynasty, Dave. If I was Eddie Gray, I'd be telling his son, get away from that arsehole. He's going to ruin your career, like. So look, Brendan Johnson for me needs to go. Needs to go, Dave. Needs to go, and he needs to go now. I backed him as far as I can, but if I don't see progression and I don't see him putting an effort in to get better, Dave, then I've had enough. Do you know, you said it yourself, Harry Kane, he wasn't a world star striker when he started. He had the talent. But what did he do? He worked in it. He worked in it, become a star. I'm sure Sonny wasn't the big star player he was. Talent, worked in it. You look at Aaron Lennon back in the day. He wasn't the greatest winger in the world, but he worked hard at his game, Dave. He tried. Brennan Johnson just doesn't give a shit. So there's plenty of players within that squad, but that's down to Daniel Levy and his transfer policy and the policy he set out in his tenure at Tottenham, and it's coming back to bite us in the ass.
Yep.
I don't know where you stand in that, Dave, but that's
no.
how
Look,
I feel.
I think you're spot on. And look, this is where I think obviously, results will justify whether Frank deserves time or not, right? Obviously. But, I've been saying this for a long, long time. We can't keep going through managers at the rate we do. At some point, we can only really judge managers once we've got a proper squad together. And this is where I think Thomas Frank does need a bit of time, and he does need a transfer window to get in a left wing and a striker. And then you can really judge Thomas Frank, to a large degree. But Daniel Levy's, I think, look, we weren't helped with the ban of Paratici. It sort of interrupted what he was doing at Tottenham Hotspur. Johan Lang came in. He's his own man. He'll want to do his own things and stuff like that. Yeah. And I think we've seen a regression since he's come over. He can't do anywhere near the job that Paratici has done. And I'm glad that he's back. And hopefully he can finish off what he started in that regard. But of course, the likes of, the fact that we're still short is, of course, an indictment of our transfer policies in seasons gone by. Our only hope is that the Lewis family will fix that. But like we said, only time will tell.
Yeah, I mean, Tequila was big up to Tequila. I want to get this out. Big up. He said, big up to Dave and Dermo. Say hi to Jack for me, please, Dave. Cheers. Hope everyone is well. Big up to you, Tequila. I want to praise Tequila. He was banging on all summer to me, Dave. Says, Dermo, we need a left back. We need covering a left back. If Udogie or Porro both get injured, what are we left with? Jed Spence and Ben Davies. Ben Davies is now injured. If we lose Porro, we've only got one recognised fullback. Again, Dave, that is down to Johan Lang, I think, not running the transfer policy right this summer. The question I want to ask you is this, Dave, and probably the talking point is, with all the shenanigans that went behind Daniel Levy suddenly leaving the club, and our transfer policy wasn't great in the summer. It wasn't a brilliant window, Dave. It was an okay window. It was, 50-50 for me. Do you think that played a part in the window we had? Or do you think with Paratici coming back now, we're going to be well organised for January, well organised for next summer? Have you more faith with Paratici back than you did before? I do. I think we're going to have better windows now.
Yeah, of course I did. Look, I had faith in Paratici from the very beginning. I've done a lot of research into what he'd done at Juventus. The fact that he was at top club for 10 years and stuff like that. And me and Jack were two of the ones that were calling him the Don Paratici. Now, everyone that's watched us for a long time knows how much we got ridiculed for that opinion.
You did.
But them same people who ridiculed us are the same ones that are baying for Paratici to come back in here and fix this mess. So look, I'm not going to sit here and justify myself. At the end of the day, I've always thought Paratici has done good work at Tottenham, and I'm delighted. Even when the ban came about, how many people said sack him, get rid of him? And I said, nope, keep him around in some advisory role or something like that. And as soon as the ban is up, bring him back in. So I'm not going to sit here and justify my opinion on it when I've been right on it all along.
Look, I loved it when you called them the Don, and you did get relegated. And I think it was so wrong you got relegated for it as well, Dave. Because it's if you look at the Juventus documentary on Amazon, the do you know the one they did for Tottenham? He's in that, and the work he does is really impressive. He's a very good sporting director, very good foot. He's got his contacts, Dave. He knows where to go. Just very quickly on Daniel Levy and what I was saying to you, to start the show about him being forced out and Thomas Frank sort of being his pick. I said this to Tequila last night. How long did the Lewis family give Thomas Frank? Because it wasn't their manager. If things start spiraling out of control, how faithful are they going to be to Thomas Frank? I don't think they're going to be faithful to him at all. I really don't. And it's not his fault. It's slightly his fault, but it's the players' faults as well, Dave. I mean, do you think the Lewis family might just say, "Look, you're out"?
No, if you're the Lewis family, why would you take that gamble?
No, that's true.
Right, I
That's
think they
true.
see. Look, Thomas Frank won't get us relegated, right? You know,
No.
he'll turn us, he'll make us a sort of a mid-table team, maybe just sneak inside the top 10. You know, that's our hopes, right? But he's not going to get us relegated. So even if he wasn't there, man, which you would hope they were involved in the decision making in some way. But even if he wasn't there, man, it makes no sense to sack him this season. It makes sense for them to sort of keep him in and then look at it in the summer, change then or change towards the end of the season, and then start getting the players in nice and early in the summer. That's when, if I was in charge, if I was a member of the Lewis family right now, that's what I would do. I think changing now, you're only setting up the guy you really want, if that's the case, what they want to do, for failure. Because it doesn't matter who they bring in. If you don't have a Harry Kane quality striker who's going to put the ball in the back of the net. And by the way, when people were saying we should have sold him, I highlighted the amount of winners that the guy put on and the amount of points he put on the board from winning goals. No one wanted to hear it. You know, same with Sonny. And the reality is, until we fix the striker and left wing position, every manager is going to come in and fail. And Postecoglou suffered from the same fate, not having clinical guys in the forward line. You know, and I think what we're seeing is two managers, two different styles, two different philosophies, two different ways on the way they view football. But we have the same problems. If we cannot score enough goals or create enough opportunities to be able to score the goals to go and win games of football consistently. And that there speaks to a problem in your forward line.
Yeah, I mean, that problem's been going on for a few years now, Dave. It's not a new problem. It's a recurring problem. Look, on Harry Kane, right, I agree with you. I heard you saying the other day, Dave, that we should have kept him and run the risk of trying to get to sign a new contract, right? I understand.
But the reason why I said that, most importantly, is because I didn't want to give the club the 100 million because I knew they wouldn't spend it, right? I said that at the time. We spent over 200 million on this forward line, and it's still nowhere near the required standard. So again,
look, I know Tequila says no one on this channel wanted Kane sold, Dave. I can tell you that, Dave, my man. Yeah, no, I will say what I said.
You want to be on the right side of the news. I was the one that sat there and I got ridiculed for months. I got ridiculed in my own chat. I got ridiculed by everyone that came on.
I'm going to defend myself now.
That we should take the 100 million. It'd be beneficial for Tottenham. Postecoglou will come in and create this magnificent front three. Everyone's going to contribute with the goals, etc. I was the only one that sat there and said, I don't care what is on offer. What he offers to the starting 11 and what he offers to Tottenham Hotspur is more valuable than any money. I was the only one out there. Everyone else wanted to cash in. The evidence is out there.
I'm going to say you're right, but I'm going to defend myself. This is a democracy. Me and Dave have this run. I loved having this argument.
I mean, look, people can say what they want. I'm not that petty, but if people want to go back and watch at the time when it actually happened, you will see what I'm saying.
Yeah, look, I agree. What you're saying is right, Dave. I think my point at the time, right, was I agree with you. We should have kept Harry Kane, but the problem was me. I didn't want to run the risk for him going somewhere for nothing in January if it didn't work out right in under the first season under Ange. So what do? Do you? I said at the time I would take the money, but reinvest it in a better front three. We didn't invest it in a better front three, Dave. So I agree with you 100% in what you're saying, but I also went down the path of, look, what do you do? Do we want another So Campbell point in the game where he goes for nothing? You're looking at a world-class player that had money there.
It nearly cost us relegation last season.
It did nearly cost us relegation. You're right. The first season it didn't. The second season it did. I think we got away with it within the first season. The second season did. Now, you can say Harry Kane wanted to leave. You can say that was probably a reason that he wanted to go to Bayern Munich. We could have won the money, yes. But I think the main problem, Dave, I think if you knock off everything, all the noise around it, the main problem was we didn't spend the money right, Dave. We didn't get the right.
No. This is where I get frustrated. Everyone knew we weren't going to spend the money right. Look at the history of Levy at the football club and how much he's mismanaged money, how much it's been spent on crap. The fact that everyone was saying we're going to get this guy and that guy based on what evidence over the years, and that's what I tried to point out. It's based off fantasy. It's based off your mind. If you go on evidence and the way we've acted, we were never going to spend it on a player to replace him. And I tried to warn people.
So would you have run the risk then of keeping him there and possibly letting him go for free in January for him to sign for someone else? If he said to you, right, Dave, if you're Daniel Levy, right, and I'm Harry Kane, right, Daniel, I would stay for the season. Prove to me I need to and sign a new contract. But his agent's in his ear telling him, right, if you wait till January, you get more money and you get a bigger signing on fee, blah, 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 blah. What do you do as a chairman to keep your star player? What do you do? How do you convince a star player who wants to leave, who wants to go on to win trophies? He knows he's not going to win any at Tottenham. He wants to go somewhere else to win trophies. What do you do as a chairman to keep him? Because I don't think Daniel did enough to keep him. I don't think Ange did enough to keep him.
Well, I said this at the time. I said this at the time when the whole Man City debacle came around. Start showing ambition in transfer window. Start meeting what he wants to achieve. At the end of the day,
that was never going to happen under Daniel Levy. You know that. That was never going to happen. How many transfer windows, Dave, have we been adventurous in?
Yeah. That's a fair point. But then why didn't you apply the same logic when it came to taking 100 million for Harry Kane?
Because I didn't want the risk for him going nowhere for nothing.
This is a risk you've got to take sometimes. Sometimes you've got to keep your better players there against their will. And we end up finished 5th. So there could have been a case where Harry Kane goes, do you know what? We're not too far under this. And to be honest with you, if Postecoglou had the benefit of Harry Kane in the first season, we probably would have finished a little bit higher with more points on the board.
I would agree with you.
The guy looks at it a little bit differently and is tempted more so to sign on the dotted line.
Yeah,
I think that summer, based off what happened the season before, you can understand his mindset.
I can.
Things are going tits up, but the reality is, if we would have had Harry Kane that first season, we probably would have finished, at least 4th or 3rd back in Champions League football. And all of a sudden, the guy looks at things a little bit differently, and there's more reasons for him to sign on the dotted line. Where I got disappointed is everyone wanted to take the 100 million and feed it to Daniel Levy, even though they knew he was going to mismanage and spend it wrong, given evidence.
Look, I get it, and I think you're right. In hindsight, Dave, everyone can work in hindsight and think, yes, hindsight's a great thing in the world. I worked in the now and then at the time, and I thought my opinion, was the right opinion. Everyone can have their own opinion, and everyone can be right.
But them same people are calling for Harry Kane to come back and fix the Harry Kane problem. The only one that's not calling for Harry Kane to come back and fix the problem is me.
Let me ask you then, if Tottenham were offered Harry Kane, would you take him back?
I mean, right now, yeah, but I'm not the one sitting here screaming for us to go and re-sign him and get him back.
I think we should go. Yeah, I think we should go for
that wanted to sell him in the first place realised they make a mistake, and now we're paying for Tottenham to go and get him back.
Yeah, look, I think they're going to go for Vlahovic. He's got 6 months, 6 months left in his contract. I think that's a no-brainer, Dave. To be fair, I do know Tequila's right. Hindsight is 2020. It is. Hindsight is 2020. Everyone had different opinions. He says, well, not everyone on YouTube can be polled at the time. Dave didn't want to sell him. I didn't. Some did. Some didn't. It's a thing that leaves much frustration, because I think Sonny also suffered with Harry not there, Dave. I think he did suffer with that, Harry. There was talk about Sonny coming back on the 6-month loan deal. I'm not over impressed with that, to be fair. I think Sonny's had his time at the club, and I think he should leave his legend status as it is. I think if he came back, he'd be damaging it, in my opinion.
Well, that's another thing actually that frustrated me at the time. I was arguing with a lot of Son fans at the time.
Yeah.
And they were saying to me, it's okay, Son's going to carry this club forward. Son's going to do this. And the one thing I tried to say is, it's a partnership, Kane and Son. One is going to struggle without the other. And the minute you break it up, one is going to struggle without the other. And that's exactly what happened. And everyone then started going, oh, well, Son's losing it. Son's age, Son's this, Son's that. The reality is he just didn't have anyone in the forward line to work with.
No.
Like a Harry Kane, like a Mohamed Kudus. Mohamed Kudus is in the exact same situation now. He's got no one else across that front line that he can link up with. No. And that's what happened to Sonny at Tottenham Hotspur. We just didn't have anyone on his level that he could work with. It's as simple as that. Now I think what he's doing in the MLS, he's fucking tearing it up.
Yeah, but to be fair, the MLS is not the same standard as the Premier League, to be fair. I think any player can go over to the MLS and look 100 times better. I'm not disrespecting the MLS, by the way. I'm really not. I think the MLS is its own standard, but compared to the Premier League and the MLS, I think the MLS is a bit more. Star players are going to rise quickly. Better players are going to find it a lot easier playing in the MLS than they would in the Premier League. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying the MLS is a bad league. That's just my own personal opinion. Dave, yesterday's draw, right? There was one person that came out with it, I think, with a huge amount of credit.
Yeah.
I've been critical of him this season and a few games. Tequila demo, I've heard we just lost all our American subs. Well done. Oh, damn. He also says, big up to Dave for taking the flack, though. Sorry to hear it, mate. It sucks, but that's YouTube in a nutshell. Yeah, we got a lot of abuse last year over Andrew Postecoglou. Tequila got a hell of a lot of it as well. It is YouTube. It's not nice. It's the not nice part of it, but it is there. Just big up to the real lead. It says Tottenham let Harry down. He was with us long enough for Spurs to show ambition. The players in the squad right now, we're getting to the posh first 11. I agree with that. Vicario. Now, I've been on your fan show, Dave, and I was critical of his performance at Brighton and Leeds. The goal, he has been a little bit suspect. We can all agree on that. Some of his decision-making, I think, could be better. But last night, what a performance in that second half, Dave. What a performance. He got man of the match, 8 saves he made. But then he comes out with this in the after-game interview. It says, there are periods in the season, and it's not always easy. We play every 3 games, and the level we want always to be high as you can, but sometimes we cannot hit the best levels. We will work on it, but we know what we could be our level, and today, it, of course, was not top. We will work on it, assess it, and we will go again on Sunday.
I don't want to hear it. The players haven't been at that level for over 2 years.
That's the question I was going to ask. Things like that really grate me, really piss me off, because you can't really blame him, Dave. His job is to stop goals going in the net. So I think in my play ratings, I give him 8 because I thought just for the saves alone. But do you think he came out with that afterwards, Dave? And I was watching, I was thinking, what the fuck? Why not air that in the dressing room? Then I saw you rant on this. I did enjoy it when you said when you're watching Thomas Frank coming out with a banana, eating a banana coming out. I mean, you said rightly so. What are they doing in that dressing room? They must have went in there, Dave, thinking 0-0. We've done a good job.
Brilliant.
Now brilliant. We've got to put. You and me are sitting there pulling our hair out, thinking, what the fuck, like? Do you think Vicario should be praised for his performance last night? I think he should. And also on top of that, I think, does he show leadership? Does he need to show more leadership in games, in shouting and being more vocal with players when they're not pulling their weight? I think he has to.
To be honest with you, I think Vicario is one of the most vocal players in the squad. Anytime I've been at games or anytime the camera's panning to him watching games over the TV, he's always screaming and shouting at people. Yeah. Look, when it comes to Vicario, I think the criticism has been fair over the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Look, he made an error against Brighton. That shot outside the box, he could have saved. He made an error in the game after that. What was
Leeds.
it? He made an error in the Leeds game. He made an error in the Wolves game. He made an error in the Bodo game for their second goal when he balls passed back from to clear. He just looped it 60 yards up in the air. He made an error in the Aston Villa game for the first goal, or even both goals. You look at his positioning, he's too far over one side of the goal.
I slightly disagree with you on that, Dave, on the Villa game. I agree with him, but the Villa game, I think I don't know if you agree with me. I think the first one, Dave, was where I thought Bentancur and Van der Ven could have closed down
of course.
Rodgers a lot more.
No, of course. Look, Bentancur, I pulled him out for it straight away. I'm like, why is he standing there? Why is he not going out and engaging on the shot? Of course. But Vicario's positioning was off for both goals. If you go back and look at them, he's too far over one side.
I will do.
For both goals. Look, reality is both of them are good strikes. Even if he was in a better position, maybe they would have went in. But off the back of previous errors, it's leaving them open for scrutiny. It's leaving them open for the criticism.
Yeah.
Now, last night, he was absolutely superb. But last night, the reason why he was superb is because he was being tested as regularly as he was under Ange Postecoglou in the same way he was. He wasn't facing efforts from outside the box. He was facing a lot of one-on-ones last night. And that's something that he was being shown to be absolutely unbelievable. And in that regard, he's one of the best one-on-one goalkeepers in world football. But under Thomas Frank, and if people went back and checked the stats last year, Flecken faced the most shots from outside the box and made the most saves from outside the box than any other goalkeeper in the Premier League, which shows the way Thomas Frank sets up his defence. You leave teams to a lot of shots from outside the box. And Vicario has struggled. He struggled in pre-season from shots outside the box, and he struggled so far this season from shots outside the box. And the reality is, it's a different. He has to use a different skill set now under Frank than what he had to under Ange Postecoglou, and that skill set has come into question. And then when you look at Vicario overall as a goalkeeper, one-on-one, I'd have him in my goals every day of the week.
Yeah.
If you're facing a team that's putting balls into the box, he doesn't command his area. His distribution isn't great. You know, a lot of times he's misplacing passes, kicking balls widely and stuff like that. And shots from outside the box, which is another facet of your game as a goalkeeper. Again, not great. Sometimes his positioning is called into question. So when you look at him as a goalkeeper overall, there is a lot of flaws in his game. And although he deserves a lot of praise for what he done last night, and hopefully he can use it as a game to sort of take on, he's nowhere near out of the woods yet. Because to be honest with you, I feel a similar situation to Arsenal when they had Ramsdale. Everyone looked at it and goes, but he's a decent goalkeeper. Why are they changing? But when they brought in Raya, they leveled up. He's not only a good shot stopper from close range, he comes out and commands his area and catches ball. He's good from long range and stuff like that. You know, all around, he's just a more reliable goalkeeper. And it's helped catapult Arsenal into a much more difficult team to sort of beat in general, to keep a hell of a lot more clean sheets and stuff like that. And I feel like that conversation is coming around for Vicario in the summer. And I think it's fair. Look, I'm a big fan. I like Vicario. I like him in general. But, you know, at the end of the day, I want what's best for this football club. And I'm not attracted to personalities. I judge them on what they do on the football field. And he's cost us as many points as other players have over the last couple of seasons.
Yeah,
when it comes
agree.
to what he had to say there, I mean, I don't want to hear it. At the end of the day, the players are responsible for the levels that they're at. Now, I take into account playing every 3 days. At some point, you are not going to have the energy midweek that you had on the weekend. I take that into account. So maybe you do have to be, you know, maybe a little wee bit more pragmatic, because the reality is we don't really have the squad depth to be able to change and keep that sort of momentum going. So I can understand that to a certain degree. However, to come out with words like that when they haven't really been at a certain level for nearly well over 2 years now, I mean, I don't want to hear it, because at the end of the day, them players are the only ones that can make sure they're at them levels.
And it's down to yourself to get up to them levels, isn't it, Dave? You have to push yourself to it. You can have all the Keeler said to me last night, can you coach heart and determination to players? You can't, because that comes from within. That comes from you. That comes when you pull on a shirt, our shirt. This is not their shirt, Dave. We've loaned them that shirt. This is our club. And if they can't even put in a decent performance to show they're worthy wearing this shirt, then they shouldn't be wearing it. I'm questioning also Thomas Frank of the games he's watching. He's coming out with stuff in the press conference. I mean, this was the second part of the press conference, Dave. I don't know what he was watching, but I'm going to read it out anyway, and I'm really questioning it. It was a game that was relatively even. In what way was it even? Because it wasn't even.
About 5 saves in the first half.
In the first half, but then in the second half, Monaco were better than us. We didn't perform. We didn't have the performance we want. I think we lacked a bit of intensity overall. I think they lacked a hell of a lot of intensity, especially in the second half. They didn't have any in the first half either. And that combined with a day where too many players didn't hit a good enough level. You know, as you say, Thomas Frank doesn't deserve all the credit. Dave, and you're right. I think his tactics were wrong. I think also his squad he picked plays were wrong. Look, this was my predicted lineup. This is what I went with. And I changed the formation slightly as well. Would you have agreed with that? If Thomas Frank put out that lineup, Dave, would have been happy with that? Or what changes would you have made if you were Thomas Frank? It wasn't the lineup that went out. This is only my predicted lineup. But if that went out, if that was the team that went out, would you have been happier with the team that he did put out?
Look, I think I would have picked majority of that myself. Look, of course, Stanzo was forced with injury. Spence is forced with injury, right? But the big one for me is Lucas Bergvall. Look, I get it. And I'm a big fan of the kid, by the way. A really big fan of the kid. You know, and people think I'm not. I really like what I see with Bergvall. You know, I was one of the first ones to start praising him and stuff like that. But what I'm not going to do is overlook his flaws. I'm going to be fair and I'm going to be consistent. look, Lucas Bergvall, had a really decent campaign overall last season. He's one of the ones that sort of showed a lot of energy on the pitch when others didn't. However, I'm not being funny, but, for instance, last night, he was playing in that cam role, right? Done no pressing out of possession. And in possession, every time he touched the ball, he lost it. Now, the two crucial things are twice he dropped deep to get that ball, twice he lost it, and twice it nearly ended up in the back of our own net. It was him that lost that ball for the Brighton second goal in an area where he shouldn't have lost it because he's trying to play in an area he shouldn't, and that's also repetitive of last season. You go back to games against Wolves, Newcastle, Liverpool, teams like that where he made errors deep, he got the ball taken off him, and he's punished. He is a hot prospect, but he is not good enough to be in the starting lineup week in, week out. A lot of fans have a problem with the Paulinho Bentancur double pivot. I don't. When Bentancur came off last night, we lost the ability to be able to retain possession, keep control of the ball. As soon as he came off, the game just went one way for the rest of that game.
It did.
And that shows what he actually brings to the team. Bergvall can't bring that in a deeper position. Papa Massar can't bring that in a deeper position. Bentancur is the only one that can. Even Paulinho can't do that in a deeper position. The reality is, when teams come and press us, Bentancur is the only one that can take that ball and move it out into a position where it gives us time to build an attack and get out. When he came off last night, we lost that ability. People put the attacking problems and the inefficiency of the attackers on Bentancur. We are scapegoating him like many fans done to Højbjerg at the time. And by the way, many fans wanted Højbjerg sold. And what were they screaming for the next 6 transfer windows after that? A CDM. Work that one out. So for me, Bentancur is not the problem. The problem is the forward line. Simons hasn't come in and produced what the large fanfare thought he would. I was the only one again that said this guy's going to take time to acclimatize. Colin Mawani has been injured since he's got here. Udebur, okay, looks bright, but there's no quality off the back of it. He doesn't assist. He doesn't get regular shots off on goals. Everything that he does in and around the box is rash. The final decision making is poor. Brennan Johnson hasn't kicked on undeveloped like many people thought he would. Richarlison wouldn't trap a bag of cement. The reality is the problem is the forward line. They're not creative enough when they get the ball, and they don't get, and a lot of our moves don't end up with shots on goal. And people are now making that a Bentancur problem, and they're just looking for a reason to put it back on the CDM. He's not progressive enough. I'm sorry, Bentancur sprayed a 60-yard ball out to Udebur last night, and the fucker couldn't get it under control. Is that Bentancur's fault or Udebur's fault?
Look, I don't think it's a Udebur front. I really don't. I just think it's a poor front line. Look, on about Højbjerg, Dave, I was one of the ones who didn't want Højbjerg to go because I thought he could still bring something to this team. You know how much of a fan I was of Højbjerg, and I do blame Ange Postecoglou for not making him want to stay, not giving him the right options. Look, you will be. We could have done with him last season with that injury crisis we had, Dave. And we wouldn't have to go out and buy Paulinho if we had Højbjerg there. Him and Bentancur did work well together. They had the connection. Højbjerg could also spray passes around like there was no tomorrow. We always said he had a great passing range in him. Look, I just think the players we've got now, you look at our front three and it's dismal. You look at Richarlison, I agree with you. Couldn't trap a bag of cement. You're absolutely spot on with that. Xavi Simons needs to do a hell of a lot more. He does need time, but I think time's running out from what that excuse is running out. Do you know what I mean? That excuse is now running out. Udebur, I think he was the only one that showed any, especially against Villa, even last night, anyone an attempt of attacking. And that says a lot because he's been poor too. Kudos looked off the pace last night as well.
But you know what, Dermot, though? The thing is, and this is the problem, every time Kudos touches the ball, there's 3-4 players around him. You go and look last night. Every time he got that ball, he was double marked and triple marked. Yeah. And the reason why teams are doing it is because they know if they stop Kudos, no one else is creating. Everyone's praising Udebur for getting on the ball and running at players into space. But he's been afforded the space. You watched last night. Anytime he got the ball, they went one-on-one with him with the fullback because they knew if he once it comes to putting in a cross or getting a shot off on goal, he wouldn't produce anything. And that's exactly what panned out last night. And now you're seeing people go after Mohamed Kudos. Oh, he's this, he's that. He's been double marked. All we've done, and it was the same last season, people blocked up our left-hand side, and they knew once they do that, Tottenham will not score goals today.
No.
And all we've done is move that problem over. That's all we've done. Look, I like Kudabur. I think there's a talent there. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that he's developing and he's amazing, because the reality is I seen him rip Man City apart for 45 minutes last season, running at them. But again, once he got into the final third and that extra bit of quality, that
end product,
that shot, there is none. He looks bright up until the final third. But at the end of the day, a massive part of your job as a winger is that decisive quality in the final third. And he lacks it in spades. And people are going, he looks good. Yeah, because he's left so much space. But the reality is nothing ever comes off it. Mo Kudus is being double marked, and he's still the only one that's still able to put in decent crosses into the box, or at least get a shot on target. No one else can. And that's a huge problem. So I think people need to calm down on the Udibur stuff. I'm a big fan of the guy, but you need to understand when teams are putting all their resources to stop one player and he's left in so much space. I'm not being funny. If Son had that space last night, the ball ends up in the back of the net.
Yeah. Look, I just think there's a lot of players need to really look within themselves today. And I think the Tottenham board have to look at themselves. And I think Paratici has to really sit down with Thomas Frank. Where do I need to improve? I want players that Thomas Frank wants, not this philosophy of bringing players in, the club prospect, the club, bringing players in for club. This is a club signing. That's got to stop. All the bullshit's got to stop. Bring in players. Dave, we're going to end off in a minute. I know you're a busy man, and I'm really grateful you give me a bit.
No, I'm enjoying this.
Oh, yeah, okay. If you want to go on, then fine. Look, we've got one here from Tottenham Rangers. Can't wait till this fool gets a sack, man. Can't stand Thomas there. Something engine. I won't mention it because we don't get demonetized. Can you understand? I'm not getting frustrated with Thomas Frank, by the way. I don't think you are either. You can be critical of him, but I think we do think that he will get it right eventually. But can you understand the frustration within the fan base?
Of course.
But how long will he get, Dave? How long will the Lewis families? And I know I asked you this earlier, but will the Lewis family, if the fans start getting unrest in the stadium at home, start singing, they will very quickly turn on Nuno, very quickly turn on Ange Postecoglou, I think for right reasons, by the way. Are we now turning? Are we quickly turning in on Thomas Frank?
Look,
where are you on that?
There's this narrative being put around that you can't judge Thomas Frank. It's too early. People judge Postecoglou and Nuno far quicker. People judge Jose Mourinho as soon as he was appointed. People judge Conte as soon as he appointed. The reality is, in a multi-billion-pound industry, results are expected. People are judged from the off. That's just the way football has gone. Football has changed from giving people time and stuff. It's now you've got to earn your time. You are on borrowed time every day you wake up in this industry right now. That's just the way it is. So, look, results will sort of dictate, I think, whether Thomas Frank gets the time or not in terms of from the Spurs fan base. But the reality is, Thomas Frank will be given as much time as the board want to give him. Prime example, many people wanted Postecoglou sacked last January. Now, I tried to say last January, and it became very unpopular. The club ain't going to sack him because there's going to be no manager worth his salt that's going to sign on the dotted line with the amount of injuries that we've had. And it seemed like I was correct, that there was a marriage of convenience till the end of the season, because no other manager wanted the job at the time at Tottenham Hotspur. So realistically, even though we were losing every week, the board kept him in a job till the end of the season. So it really comes down to how much the board want to keep in place. How much do they want to protect him? You look at what Arsenal done with Arteta. Fans wanted him out, media ridiculing him, but the board protected him. The board kept him in his place, and stuff like that. So realistically, it comes down to what the board want to do, really. Yeah. But to be honest with you, look, again, I think I'm seeing the same things that have happened under previous managers. We're putting flaws that haven't been addressed, even though we've had time to address them, onto the managers and expect them to work magic. Now, look, in Frank's case, unfortunately, a lot of the fans painted him as this magic guy. They put the pressure on him. So, that's where the questions come about, going, well, he's not doing this, he's not doing that, he's not doing this, and he's not doing that because he was way overhyped coming in here. But for me, I think it's way too early to be turning on Thomas Frank. Look, someone like me, I'm well aware of the deficiency in the forward line, and I've adopted the mentality, regardless of who the manager is this year, every game is going to be a fucking dogfight. We are going to have to earn every point we take this year because we don't have the forward line to kill teams off, which means games are going to be tight for the full 90 minutes. We're not great at creating chances from open play. We're not great at a lot of our breakaways ending on shots on goals. So you're looking for own goals. You're looking for scraps from corners, throw-ins. You know, maybe one of the free kick takers to step up and put one in the net and stuff like that. So every game, regardless of the manager, is going to be an absolute dogfight.
Yeah,
and for me, when we don't have that, look, for years I've been saying Tottenham need to get ahead of the Kane Son era. Tottenham need to start identifying it quick, fast, so that when these guys go, you already got guys that are ready-made replacements, so you don't feel as big as a hit. We never done that. And we're feeling the effects of it now. You know, with Postecoglou, I tried to explain to people, we are feeling the effects of letting Harry Kane go. You know, we are feeling the effects of it.
Yeah.
Sonny, you know, when we let Harry Kane go, you also let half of Sonny go with him. And the reality is now we've let Son go. Am I going to put that on a manager when he has the likes of Udebur, Tell, Johnson, Richarlison, Solanke to pick from to try and make up that slack? How can I possibly put that on a manager? There's no manager in world football that would solve that issue.
No, I think where
solve that issue is money.
Yeah, I think where the frustration for me lands, it's not the manager, it's at the owners, it's at the board. When they're not doing their job, they're not giving the manager the tools to do the job they've been signed to do. They're like the manager with one hand tied behind his back. So I think the board have to take a major look at themselves and what they do, especially in January and especially in the summer. I feel sorry for Thomas Frank because I feel sorry for all the managers we've had because none of them have been back, Dave. We've had some corker managers, Mourinho, Conte. We had, Nuno wasn't with us long, but Nuno. We had Ange, and everyone keeps going back. Oh, look what we did on the Poch. It was great on the Poch. Did he win anything? No. So please tell me the football was great and we were challenging, but did we win a trophy? No. We didn't win.
You know what, though? I get you, but when you look at the Poch era, we were winning most weeks. We put ourselves in the best possible position to try and win every trophy. Right now, we're having to pick and choose what competitions we want to prioritize, and that's why there's a massive clamour to get back to even be half as decent as we were under Pochettino.
Yeah, I get that. Look, look. You go back to the Harry Redknapp era. You go back to in the 80s, right? It's all about the board buying the bright players. And it's down to the board, Dave. You can blame the players. People can blame the players or blame the manager. It's down to the board. They're the ones that go out. It's down. They're doing the scouting. They're identifying the players. Oh, we're going to get that player. He's going to improve the squad. What do you think, Thomas? No, I want this player. And they're looking at it and go, do you know what? We'll go for the cheaper option because I know I'm going to get a better resale on that player in the next 5 to 6 years. It's recruitment, Dave, and that's been our biggest issue. Recruitment.
I've always made the case we don't hire bad managers at Tottenham Hotspur, but the recruitment
we just don't buy the right players.
It's never been matched up. You know, we had Jose Mourinho, well famous for putting in a defensive structure and good enough to go and win new games. All they had to do was bring in a couple of world-class centre-backs with Harry Kane and Son in the team. We would have probably went and won something. They didn't. They brought in Joe Rodon. They made him work with Dyer. They made him work with Sanchez. They made him work with Davies and all these other players at fucking centre-back when Toby and Jan were gone. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. When Conte came in, he said, you know, I want players of this caliber. No, we're not doing that. We're going to give you players of this caliber, players that you can develop and stuff like that. Problem is, we're bringing in managers that are ready-made to go and want to go and challenge for success, and we're giving them squads that they have to develop, and we don't give them the time. And the problem is, it's a mismatch because you've got players that come, you've got managers that are coming in with this reputation, which comes with, you know, this set of pressures and this set of demands, and when they don't meet that because the quality of the squad isn't good enough, all of a sudden fans turn on them. All of a sudden we go, they're not as good as we say they are. But yet you watch most managers, bar Postecoglou, but I mean, he has plenty of time. They've left Tottenham Hotspur. They've gone on and they've won somewhere else. They've gone on and they've, you know, in the next couple of jobs, and they've done very well with their jobs. And that tells you the common denominator on all their CVs is Tottenham Hotspur. We are the problem. It's the recruitment. We are mismatching it up with the managers we're bringing in.
It's like putting square pegs into round holes, isn't it? Oh,
Like,
don't
for
worry.
instance, right, last
Wasn't
year,
Eric? Hang on. Let me ask you
instance,
this,
right?
Dave.
For instance, just
Sorry.
quickly, Damo,
Yeah.
we brought in Brennan Johnson,
Mm-hmm.
we brought in Archie Gray for Postecoglou to work with, even though he's a guy that wants a fast-track way to winning trophies.
Yeah.
Frank is a guy that's known for developing players, and we bring him in the real deal in Paulinia and Kudos.
I know.
Do you see what you see the mismatch all the time?
It doesn't. It
never
doesn't.
works.
No. I mean, the point I was going to make. You look at Eric Dyer, for example. Right, he was a defensive midfielder. Instead of going out and buying a centre back, what they go and do? They put him in. They say, "Oh, here we go. Well, he can play centre back." That saved us a few million. Look, I just want, and this is why I don't trust Enoch, Dave. This is where I don't trust the Lewis family, because everyone was quite rightly putting the finger on Levy. I get it, and I think rightly so. But, and I don't want Levy back, but could the same question be asked? Was it also Enoch? Because they didn't put the money in. How much faith do you have with this new owner, with the Lewis family, with Charlie, with Vivian, with Vinay? Now we've got Paratici back with Lang. The Keeler thinks I'm mates with the new ownership. I am not. He thinks, he says, "Don't let your mate Viv hear that, Dermo." But seriously, Dave, though, if you look at the new ownership, I've got no trust in them. They're going to have to earn my trust. Where are you with it? Because
look, respect is never given, respect is always earned, and you earn that through actions, right? So look, I'm not going to sit there and say they got to go. At the end of the day, the communication since Daniel Levy's gone has been much clearer. Their intentions, for the club, in terms of and the way they communicate, it's been much clearer than Daniel Levy. And they've also backed it up by putting in 100 million. So look, at the end of the day, it's hard to judge, but all in all, right now they've made all the right sound bites and stuff like that. But it's easy to do that when the transfer window is closed. Let's see if they're going to back it up when the transfer window is open. Yeah. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. If you can sit there and you can give lip service all you want about wanting to be successful, how many times did Daniel Levy do that? But never backed it up with his actions in terms of the transfer market. And so let's wait and see what the Lewis family do. At the end of the day, you've got to give them January, you've got to give them summer to show their hand. But at the end of the day, I'm delighted Levy's gone. He was a massive part of the problem. I feel like, from when they bought the club, he grew the club significantly off the field, stadium, or off the field infrastructure, finances, the whole shebang, right? But on the pitch, we were starting to regress. And when they gave him his final opportunity to show what he can do, he resorted back to doing what he'd done when he was buying up all the property around to build the stadium, which is buy young and look to sell them on. And he resorted back to that. He didn't, he couldn't get in players of real quality. And I think the Lewis family also seen an opportunity and says, well, hang on, the amount of money that's in football, the astronomical deals that winners are getting, we want a slice of that pie. We've got absolutely everything in place. All we need to do is put a squad together, and once we start winning, they'll get record-breaking stadium naming rights. They get record-breaking shirt deals, because I think the night one is due up in a year or two. So they'll get a record-breaking contract in that. More and more people want to keep hosting their events at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and everything else, because everyone wants to be involved with winners. So I think the Lewis family have realized that if we want the next round of profit and income, well, we've got to put the money in on the football pitch to be able to get to that round. But if they do that, I don't mind, because at least they're trying to make Tottenham successful.
Yeah, exactly. And it is about them showing mettle and showing resilience within the windows, within January. Look, January's hard to buy anyway. You, me know that. We're not fools into thinking it's going to be, we're going to buy people in January. We know it's a difficult month. But if they can get one or two players in, Dave, even if it's loan, even if they can't get them in the January, but it's on a pre-contract, you're coming in the summer, I think that would be good as well. But they've got to pay the wages, Dave. We haven't paid the wages. That has been our biggest stumbling block. They've got to throw that out the window. Yes, we want the club to be self-sufficient. Yes, we want the club to be not in any financial problems. But we also want the best squad for the best players to go on to be competitive in leagues and cup and competitions. We've had a taste of winning the trophy. You, me, like it, Dave. This is really your first major trophy. I've seen us win European trophy before, like your dad did. But this is your first major European trophy. You want that success. You went to the parade. I wish I went now, but I couldn't at the time. You went to that parade. Do you know, we want more. Huh?
One of the best days of my life.
I know. I just didn't have the money. I actually did a watch along to it, and I was looking at it thinking, fuck me, I wish I was there. But we want more days like that, Dave. But this is where the Lewis family have got to do it. They've got to put the money where the mouth is. They've all got to get together. Right. Instead of putting 100 million in, put 200, 300, 400 million in. Make a statement. Right. There you go, Thomas. You got 300 million. Go and buy the players you want. Last bit of the podcast before we wind up, Dave. Sunday. Let's end it. We've had a quite negative rants about the bad side of the club. Let's look at the good side. Let's end on the high. Everton on Sunday. Not an easy game, especially their new stadium, Dave. Everton been playing quite well there recently. David Moyes has got them, tactically sound and, playing some good stuff. I'm worried about it, but are you hoping for a reaction? I think we might get a reaction from that in that game.
Look, Dermot, I have no agenda towards any individual at this football club. My only agenda is to try and make Tottenham Hotspur as successful as they can be, and I'll share my opinion on how I think they should do that. At the end of the day, I always want this football team to bounce back. I don't want people sacked and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if they're not performing, you got to develop that sort of ruthless culture as winners do at elite level sport. But I always want Tottenham to bounce back. I always want Tottenham to win. I'm at my most happiest when Tottenham are winning games of football. And for me, I always want us to bounce back, of course. I don't want us to drop points because I had question marks around the Frank appointment at the start, and I don't know. Of course, I want the guy to succeed at the end. I want everyone to succeed. And, to a degree, Frank has sort of changed my opinion and answered some of the questions that I've had and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's not going to be an easy game, Dermo. We got slapped up there last year, 3-1. I remember I think we drew 0-0 up there underneath Antonio Conte. We could have lost that day as well. We weren't great. Historically, going to Everton has been a difficult task for Tottenham Hotspur. It is going to be a difficult game. They are hard to beat up there. Moyes has them set up well. It's not going to be an easy day. It's going to be a tight game, and it's going to be decided by a goal here or there. It could very well be another 0-0 because both teams don't have a lot of goals in them. So let's wait and see what happens. But there's an opportunity to take 3 points, but history would tell you it's not going to happen.
No, because we've got a tough run of games, haven't we? We've got Everton away on the Sunday. We've got Newcastle away in the Cup on the Wednesday, I think Tuesday or Wednesday.
I'm not looking forward to that one.
I am not. We've got Chelsea at home on the Sunday, on the Saturday at 5:30, and then we're home to Copenhagen, and then we're home to... Is that your birthday?
Yeah, 4th of November.
That's right. You're the day. I remember that. You're the day for and then we've got
Man United, Arsenal, PSG, Fulham, Newcastle away again.
We've got... I'm going to the Brentford game. I can't wait to go to that. I'm really looking forward to going to it. We're all going to the Leeds game, aren't we, at the end of the season with the Kildare Spurs group? You going to that one?
I haven't checked in. I don't know.
No. But yeah, we've got a tough run of games coming up. Score prediction for Sunday, Dave. What are you going for?
I'll hopefully Tottenham 1-0, Dermo.
I'm going for a 2-1 win. Spurs. I think we will. I think we're going to beat Newcastle away, by the way, in the cup. I think we're going to do well in the League Cup. But I'm not looking forward to Chelsea. I'm not looking forward to Man United. And I'm dreading the North London derby. And that's away from home. If we don't play, we're going to get spanked there. You look at them last night, how they dispatched Atletico Madrid last night.
Yeah.
If we don't turn up there. But look, come on, Dave. Let's keep it positive. Let's keep it up. I know it's hard, but come on. Let's
Dermo, I can't exude fake positivity. If it's not positive and I see problems, look, I see problems on the horizon. When you don't have the ability to
I get it.
Open, get shots on target and stuff like that.
I get it.
It's a long, arduous season ahead. I'm not going to sit here and promote fake positivity. I'm just not going to do it.
It's going to be a season, Dave, where you said it spot on last night. We've got to strap ourselves in. We've got to get ourselves ready. It's going to be a long season. It's going to be a hell of a long season. But look, Dave, another fantastic podcast. Really enjoyed doing this with you, sir. Yeah, I enjoyed it too. We had a lot of discussions, lot of good discussions. Next week, we'll probably do it. What day is it today? Third. We'll probably do it this time next week because we would have had the Newcastle game as well. So we'll have 2 games to look back. But when can people find you, sir? I know you run the greatest channel on YouTube, in my opinion. The mothership to this channel. But where can people find you, sir?
Yeah, you can find me over at the Irish Hotspur. You know, we do a lot in around game day. We do predicting lineup. We do pre-match build-up, watch-alongs, post-match reaction, Twitter reacts, all that sort of good stuff. So there's plenty of content over there after last night's game for you to feast your eyes on. Go and have a look. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below.
Yeah. Guys, we've got a member show today at 5, so join me for that My Player Rating show. Yes, Tequila, there is a few ones in there. I was that bad. I went to a 1. Brendan Johnson got a 1, by the way, so there's breaking news for you. And then, of course, tomorrow we've got at 4, we've got another member show. We've got the pre-game thoughts, and then Saturday we've got all the build-up for the Everton game. I'm looking to do a debate on Saturday, guys, with me, Tequila and James, hopefully 3 of us together, talking about the youth policy at Tottenham and have we failed the youngsters, and I think we have. And then Sunday, you've got all your match day stuff, predicted lineup live at 1 o'clock, then the watch along before the whistle, the watch along, and match reaction. And then Monday, it is final score. So join me today. Oh, yeah, sorry, got final score tonight at 8. So join me today with more content tomorrow. I might even have Saturday off yet. I don't know. But Dave, thank you so much. I love doing these Irish Lads Talk Spurs. They're a great laugh to do. Yeah, good. I like the ones he did. I did that for the Tamworth game. I gave everyone a 1 and he loved it. So it's a standard joke. But big up to you guys. Thank you all for watching. Go up to Dave's channel and hit a like, subscribe. Do it here as well. And guys, whatever you do, come on, you Spurs. In Thomas Frank we trust. We never stop. Please, for the love of God, play better on Sunday and make Dave a happy bunny. Come on, you Spurs.